ष्टाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य दिशतारिणे जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय Srila Prabhupada. So we'll get started. Just before that, I want to recite some verses from Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Mutamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanusite Devi Pranamami Hariti Pancha Karpatarupesya Shkita Sindhu Ye Pasha Haritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So welcome to this Bhagavad Gita edition. And I've been given shlokas from 10.33 up to 38. Let's see how much we can cover. I'll just start to share my screen and we'll get started. Please do let me know once you're able to see my screen. Hare Krishna, is my screen visible?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So I'll start with the shloka, first shloka. So the chapter 10 is about opulence of the Lord. And it's all about how Krishna is seen in everything that we see around us. So we'll get started. And I'm sure you will have enough context because we are almost midway into the Hare Krishna. I think some people have raised their hands. Let me see. Anything anyone wanted to say? Because I saw someone, Subbarao Prabhu and Sudha Mataji.
No, Prabhu, for reading. It was for reading.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to recite the shloka and then, we'll go for the reading. Aksharanam akarosmi dvandva samakshikshasya cha aham evaksya kalo dataham vishvato mukaha. Anyone wants to read? Prabhuji, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam. Aksharanam akarosmi dvandva samasikasya cha ahamevakshaya kalo dataham vishvato mukaha. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible, time, and of creators, I am Brahma. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word like Rama Krishna is also called Dvandva. In this compound, the words Rama and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is a representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has 4 heads, is the chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, and for nicely pronouncing the shloka also. So here, Lord says that he's the Akara, right? And practically nothing can be spelled out in Sanskrit without the Akara word. It comes in every word, everything that we pronounce in Sanskrit. So that talks about how omnipresent he is, right, in everything, right? Now, there is another mention that Lord says here that I am in the compound words, which is called samas in Sanskrit. Samas is basically union of 2 words, right? Which makes it a compound word. If you do a samas of 2 words, right, that is called dvandva. So there are different types of compounds. Get a small technicality in the world of Sanskrit. So there are 3 types of technical compound words. One is avyayi bhava, tatpurusha, and bahuvritti. And in that, there is a variation called dvandva, which is 2 words when they come and they are united or they are fused. Then that's the dvandva. So the beauty of dvandva is that both the words in a dvandva have equal importance. For example, if somebody says in Sanskrit, Hanuman Ramasya Bhaktah Asit. Now, Ramasya Bhaktah can be combined saying Rama Bhaktah. So that is Dvandva. In this case, Prabhupada is taken as an example of Ramakrishna. Right? So when these 2 words combine, both of them have equal importance. So that is Dvandva. Now, apart from that, Lord also talks about the fact that he's the final annihilator. I am the inexhaustible time. And of creators, I am Brahma. Now, what happens is, Prabhupada makes a very pertinent point that time ultimately annihilates everything, right? So as they say, if somebody is going through a deep sorrow, right, people, keep their hands on the back of the person, on his shoulder, and they will give him a pat saying that, hey, time will take care of everything. Right? So why is it? Because time helps heal, but at the same time, every one of us who has come into this material world has a set expiry time. The only beauty is none of us know what that expiry date time is. So finally, everybody will have to leave this material world. And that's what we are doing as part of Krishna consciousness, is that death is the exam. And how are we preparing for that exam? Through our lifetime, right? By chanting Lord's name, by keeping our consciousness clear and pure, fixed in Krishna, and chanting his holy names, and preparing slowly but steadily towards a definitive death, right? So that's something that is talked about. And among all the creators, Lord is Brahma, the chief, right? Everything originates from Brahma. So the takeaways from Opulence of the Lord chapter, which is chapter 10, is that how we can see the presence of Krishna in everything that is around us, and how we can remember the Lord. And that's the mercy of the Lord, that by giving such examples, by giving such aspects which can be seen, felt, etc. He's making his presence more and more evident, and therefore our ability to remember him becomes much easier. So that's what the sum and substance is. Any questions? We'll move to the second one. Mrityu sarva haraschaham udbhavascha bhavisyatam kirti shrir vakcha narinam smritir meda dhritis shama. Anybody wants to read it? Can do that.
Shall I read, Prabhuji, shall I read?
Yes, please, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Mrityu sarvaharam chaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirti srivakcha narinam smritir medha dhruti kshama.
Very nice.
Translation. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame and fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Purport: as soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. The death is Krishna. As for future development, scroll down to, as for future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Or of these changes, the first is deliverance from the home, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. The 7 opulences listed, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and the patience, are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with good memory or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence, that is medha. Another opulence, the ability to overcome unsteadiness, is called firmness or steadfastness, dhriti. And when one is fully qualified, yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience.
Shaman.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, Prabhu. Nicely rendering the shloka also. So here, there are aspects which are being talked about, and I'm going to share little cross references here. So if you look at the first line where Prabhupada talks about, if someone takes birth, it's definite that he's going to die. So someone asked Prabhupada that, what's the death rate, and death rate is 100%. Everybody who's ever taken birth here in this world will die eventually, right? And at the last stroke is called death itself. That death is Krishna. Now, as devotees of the Lord, how do we see death? Do we get afraid of death? Do we fear that if death comes to me, what should I do? How will I react? Now, our entire life is a preparation, and death is that final exam. Now, how well we are prepared, right, in this lifetime will be decided when that final exam happens. We would have seen so many around us who have taken their final exam and they've met various destinies. But our preparation, our consciousness, keeping it pure, steadfast, will decide what that destiny is going to be. So for someone who's deeply materially involved, death means finally, he's going to go through a destiny, and that destiny is unseen or unforeseen, because it all depends on the karmas that he has accumulated. But for devotees, death is an opportunity which takes him closer to meeting Krishna or associating with Krishna or trying to serve Krishna further down. So death means that for a devotee. Now there is a mention just after where Prabhupada talks about 6 basic changes: born, grow, remain, reproduce, dwindle, and finally vanish. That is what any material body will go through. So as soon as there is birth, there is a steady growth from, be it boy or a girl, going up to puberty, and then finally, youth. So they grow, they remain there for some time. There is a middle-age period where things remain the same. Then there is a time when people get married, be it animals, be it human beings. There is, of course, animals don't get married, but there is this aspect of reproduction where, progenies are created. And then finally, what happens? Old age kicks in, body starts to shrink, and finally, death happens. Right? Now, in this 6 stages, Krishna says, I am the first deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The birth is what he's relating with. Right? And the first generation is the beginning of all. That means the first generation is basically the birth part, which Krishna is talking about. Now here, these 6 stages that is being talked about here is also available in one of the shlokas. I'm just going to go there. So if we go to 7th canto, chapter 7, 18. Right. So here, Janma deha sat ime bhava drishta dehasya natmanaha phalanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshwara murtina. So it says here, just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes: birth, existence, growth, transformation. Hare Krishna. If somebody's chanting, please go on mute. Transformation, dwindling, and then death. The material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. So they've taken an example of tree and then mapped it to, yes, if this happens to human beings also. However, there are no changes for the spirit soul. So the spirit soul remains exactly the same. There's no age, no time. It's a spirit soul is actually timeless, right? There's no impact of time on a spirit soul. So that's what is being talked about here. Now, the other aspect which is being talked about here, and Prabhupada has nicely elaborated, is that these attributes, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience, they are considered feminine, because in Sanskrit, these opulences come under the feminine category. Like you have this pulling and striling, right? Everything that we express in any language will get fitted in one of these, right? So they come in the striling. The other thing is that most of the presiding deities of these opulences is a lady, right? So that's another reason behind it. Now, why Krishna talks about these things, right? So when we look at fame, now we see someone who's become very famous for all right reasons, not infamy, and he's showing that bright spark. So when you see that bright spark in a person, that he's able to speak well, maybe he's very intelligent, he's got sharp memory, then there are 2 ways to react to it. One way is that we can feel very envious of that person, saying, hey, I don't have those attributes. How come this person has so much? Right? That is one way of reacting. And the other way of reacting, now that we are students of Bhagavad Gita, going through Opulence of the Lord, 10th chapter and shloka number 34, our way of looking at it should be that, hey, I can see Krishna's spark, right? Krishna is manifesting in this person as that fine speech, memory, intelligence. Now, when that kind of a reaction on that kind of a attitude or reciprocation we show, we first of all take the envy out of the picture. So what we are doing here is we have a deep appreciation of the person because Lord's opulence is getting manifested from that person. So what happens? Envy goes away automatically. When we approach things with this mindset, the envy is out of the door. And when envy is out of the door, what happens is our bhakti progresses. Because one of the biggest impediments which comes in our practicing of bhakti is envy, right? And when we have this outlook towards people, when we look at Krishna's opulence in everybody, automatically envy goes away and our bhakti flourishes. That is one thing. If a man is famous, if someone possesses some of them, he is anyway glorious. And if he possesses all of them, you can imagine what it can be. Right? If a man is famous as a righteous man, right? There are many people who do, they make a quick buck, right? They take, in order to become successful, they may take paths which are not prescribed for, as part of good characters, and also not prescribed in Vedas. That is not encouraged here. If after studying any subject matter, if you can remember, that is called good memory. Now that itself, when we look at Kali Yuga, Prayana Alpa Ayusya Sabya Kalo Asmin Yuge Jana Mandasu Manda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrita. So it's said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, that in Kali Yuga, people have fickle memory, right? Anything that is said probably 3 days back, 4 days back, people hardly remember, right? And then people keep reminders over the cell phone. Somebody has to remind them, etc., etc. So having good memory itself has become a scarce commodity in Kali Yuga. Now, on top of that, if somebody can remember and apply, that is intelligence. That such a person is called Medha, right? Now, why is that? Why is it that you need to apply? When you apply, that is when the proof of pudding is actually in eating, right? So when you apply what you've learned, then the biggest step in character transformation ever happens. As long as you just keep it in memory and never use it in actions or in daily practice, it becomes a theoretical knowledge, which can be good nectar shopping, but doesn't help in anything else. Right? So we need to apply, and that becomes intelligence, which is another opulence. And then there are many people, in fact, many of us, including me, I do become sometimes, okay, there is this uncertainty that comes up. What happens? I see, everywhere around huge tech layoffs. What will happen to my job? So remaining steadfast, even if the situation around us is not going to be easy, anything that is going to make us uneasy, remaining steadfast in that is Dhriti. And the other important thing, which is very wonderful point, which is actually something which we can take away, is the fact that if there is, let's say, someone who's struggling with penury, he has no money, he's absolutely miserable life he's leading, and he's humble, right? Is that a good attribute, or is that worth appreciating? Or someone who has all the opulences, yet is humble. He's extremely wealthy, he's extremely intelligent, he's got good diction, he speaks well, yet he is humble. Now, humility in such a scenario has to be appreciated, because with all the opulences, it's very easy for that person to become arrogant. But he chose to be humble, or he chose to have that disposition. That is worth appreciating. If the situation around us is making us humble, that's not something really commending about, right? And the last part is that both in sorrow and in ecstasy, remaining equipoised. Right? The fact that, hey, I got rewarded for a good job. Somebody's got a pink slip. Right? Either in both the cases, remaining steadfast, that Krishna is in control. I have full faith in Krishna. I will do my best. My endeavor, I'm not going to let down in my endeavor. But at the same time, I'll keep my faith steadfast in Krishna that he's got the best plan for me. That is a anchor which will keep us going. And that patience is what Lord is called Shama. Right? That opulence is called patience or Shama. Any questions before we go to the next one? Brihatsama tata samnam Gayatri chandasamaham Masana margashishoham Ritunam kusumakaraha. Anybody wants to read? Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, Mataji, anybody wants to read?
Hey,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Yes, yes. Anybody wants to read? I can't see who wants to read.
Nobody is there, I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Brihatsama tata samnam Gayatri chandasamaham Masana margashishoham Rutunam kusumakaraha. Translation of all the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry I am the Gayatri. Of months I am Margashish, November, December, and of seasons I am flower-bearing spring. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Samaveda. The Samaveda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Brihat Sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry, rhyme, and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. Among the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization, it represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature in order to chant the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator and it is passed on from him in disciplic succession. The month of November December is considered the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time and the people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are also many ceremonies commemorating the Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So there is a mention here first that Lord says that among the Vedas, I am Samaved. Right? Samaved, if anyone has heard, it's sung in a particular meter. It's got a very good musicality, to it. Now, in that Samaved, there are a lot of hymns, and Brihat Sama is one of that, which is essentially these section of hymns basically is a highly spiritually charged invocation of the Lord, and it's called Brihat Sama because it's the large Sama. It's the largest part of the Samaved, and it's pretty powerful. And I just wanted to take a minute to see if we can. I just So, Brihat Sama. So I was just trying to play this and see if you're able to hear it. Is it audible?
No,
Yes,
Prabhuji,
sir.
it's not audible.
Huh?
Only we can see it.
Oh, you're not able to hear it, is it?
No,
Yeah,
no.
Prabhu, we can't hear.
Oh, okay. I'm just seeing if there is any way to make the music. One second. I'll not spend a lot of time, but just trying to see if there is a way to share. But I'll send this video link. If you just hear it, it basically it's electrifying. I mean, that's the best word I can put for this video. I'll send this offline and just hear it out, the sound vibration, and no wonder you will be able to appreciate why Lord says, "I'm the Brihat Sama in Samaved," right? So that's something I'll give as an offline activity. That said, the other thing that is interesting in Sanskrit is that unlike English grammar, where you can actually jumble up few words and have them rhyme in a particular way, you can construct a poetry out of in English. It's pretty easy. Now, if somebody has been using a lot of these AI tools such as ChatGPT, you put something and the AI engine will give you a poem on yourself also if you want to, right? However, in Sanskrit, it's not that easy, right? There is choice of words, there is allocation or placement of words, there is a meter. All have to come together to have a very good poetry in Sanskrit, and therefore, it isn't easy for anyone to write any poetry in Sanskrit, but they can easily do it in other languages because it's very hard to have a good, precise meaning, have the right musicality, right meter, right choice of words, etc., etc. So that makes it hard. Now, in that poetry, which is very, very hard to write, Lord says, in that regulated poetry, I'm the Gayatri Mantra, which is duly sung, duly recited by all the Brahmanas. So there are a lot of precautions, or there are a lot of do's and don'ts with Gayatri. So first thing, you have to absolutely have taken bath. Then you have to pick a very clean place, preferably somewhere near the altar. You have to chant with a lot of patience. You should not be screaming. You should not be reciting it very vocally. It has to be chanted in your mind with a lot of focus. And if you don't follow all that, the results can be contrary. It can just go against you, right? So that's the potency of Gayatri Mantra. Now, however, with Hare Krishna Mahamantra, none of it is needed. You may have not taken bath. That is one. You can chant anywhere. You can be going in a bus. You can be standing anywhere. And you're completely, you don't care about your surroundings, and you could be chanting Krishna's holy names. Even if it is a little vocal, no problem with that. So all that goes away. All that relaxation is there with the Mahamantra. This Gayatri Mantra, however, is meant for spiritually advanced people. So either you have to take initiation from spiritual master, and then there's a Harinam which is given, Harinam initiation, and then this Brahminical initiation that is given, 2 levels of initiation. And that's the time when you become eligible to chant Gayatri Mantra. Then, and if you're able to follow all those protocols and procedures that I talked about, yes, he becomes eligible to enter the transcendental position of the Lord. Right? That's one. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri. And Gayatri comes with some pre-qualifications, that you need to be in the quality of goodness, mode of goodness. Your mind cannot be agitated when you're uttering or when you're chanting Gayatri Mantra. However, with Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can start off and the mantra itself will start to purify you. The mantra will bring that necessary calmness, and you can keep. So the remedy and the I'll put it this way: the process and the destination, they fuse or they come together. The Gayatri mantra is also very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be sound incarnation of Brahman. It's not Brahma, Brahman. So it's very clear here. So we talked about, I think last time when we had met, we talked about the three features of the Lord, right? Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So here we're talking about the Brahman feature of the Lord, the formless feature of the Lord. Right? Brahma is its initiator. Brahma is the initiator of Gayatri mantra and is passed down, through the process of creation and it's made accessible to all of us. Now, further down, Srila Prabhupada talks about that among months, Lord says, I am the Margashirsha. Now, what does that mean? So in the month of November, December, Prabhupada says that, it's a very nice month because people are able to collect grains. Many of people in South, if you go to any temple in South, for 30 days, there is this chanting of Tirupavai by Andal, one of the Alvars, right? It's such a joy just waking up early in the morning, hearing Tirupavai, going to the temple, having nice hot Pongal Prasadam as part of the temple, and then sitting there, meditating on the Lord and coming back, right? So many people in South, in areas of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and other places as well, Andhra, many people spend their time in the month of November and December going about with this, way of spending the time. And in the month of spring, it's ideal, right? So I think when all of us who are in Bangalore, we saw last month, the trees were blossoming. It was a spectacle. Walking across the street, it looked as if you are in a different world altogether. So the whole environment in any place changes so much. The trees are blossoming, the plants are blossoming with fruits and with flowers, right? And it's neither hot nor too cold. Ideal time for walking or to recite the holy names. Any day, anytime is holy. Anytime is good for a holy name recitation. But just I'm saying that bodily you're not discomforted. So that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. And then there are many ceremonies that happen as part of commemorating Krishna's pastimes. As I talked about Andal's Tirupavai, where every day people recite a different. There are about 30 such shlokas, and every day people chant one shloka. And then Krishna says that in such joyous circumstances, as in the month of Margari, or in anytime there is joy that you feel, remember me, because he relates himself with that joy that comes in those seasons, right? And that is representative of Supreme Lord Krishna. So that's what is being talked about here. Any questions?
Yes, Prabhu, I have one question.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Now, this Gayatri mantra is supposed to be very powerful, right? And
Yes.
only those who have taken Brahmanical initiation, they are supposed to chant every day.
Correct.
But what about those who have taken first initiation or not taken initiation? Can they hear? Is it okay for them to hear?
Hearing Gayatri.
Chanting, but only hear.
Yes, absolutely. There's no problem hearing. Now, that's the reason our acharyas, starting from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu up to Srila Prabhupada, they have given us a much easier way. As I talked about when I was talking about Gayatri Mantra, I was also trying to contrast it with the, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? So, there's so much of relaxation. There is so much of joy. There is, you can recite holy names of the Lord anytime, anywhere, in any circumstance. And Mahaprabhu also exhibited that even if somebody is in the toilet, he can chant the holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, absolutely fine. Why? The reason is death can hit any time, right? So there are no foundations. There is no, there is no method to it in the sense that you can chant anytime. So those are the benefits that you get with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Of course, someone was taken Brahminical initiation by religious practices. By that, he has to definitely recite Gayatri Mantra. But then we have a safety net of Mahamantra helping us in all the time, all the situations, all the circumstances. Does that help, Mataji?
Yeah, but what I want to know is now in the morning sometimes after putting some, some kirtan, bhajans and all that, my husband puts the Gayatri Mantra, he plays it.
Got it.
So actually, is it okay if we hear and sometimes,
yeah, actually,
one or two words come from your mind?
Correct.
Or is it
it's
not good?
Ideally speaking, and I'm nobody to kind of dictate anything here, but as per Shastras, Gayatri Mahamantra is not supposed to be played in loudspeakers, right? It's not supposed to be the calling bell, right? It is highly discouraged because that mantra, as I mentioned, deserves a way of recitation, which I talked about, right? One has to be have taken bath. One has to recite it silently in mind. It should not be, coming out screaming through a loudspeaker, right? All that is actually prohibited. It's not correct. I mean, unfortunately, there is so much of commercialization that has happened over a period of time that we are not in control. But from Vedic standpoint, that is highly discouraged. However, Mataji, from your standpoint, if you want to put it on if you want to hear it with a headset on, that is okay, no problem with that. But it should not be vocally recited in a loud way or in any which way, right? So that is something that's prohibited.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mataji.
Thank you so much for your advice, Prabhu.
No, not at all, Mataji. Thank you so much for asking the question. We'll move to the next one. Yes. So 10.36.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I'll just recite once and then I'll leave it to you, Prabhu. Yutam chalayatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham jayosmi vyavasayosmi sattvam sattvatam aham. Please go ahead, Prabhu. You can recite it again.
Yutam chalayatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham jayasmi vyavasayasmi sattvam sattvatam aham. Sattvam sattvatam aham. Translation.
Yes. Go ahead.
Translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki. I am also the gambling of cheats and of the splendid and the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong.
Hare Krishna. Did I lose Prabhuji here? Anybody?
I can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear Prabhuji.
Hello, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, it has gone into mute. Sorry, Prabhuji.
No
There are
problem.
many kinds of cheaters all over the universe. Of all cheating processes, gambling stands supreme and therefore represents Krishna. As the supreme, Krishna can be more deceitful than any mere man. If Krishna chooses to deceive a person, no one can surpass him in his deceit. His greatness is not simply one-sided, it is all-sided. Among the victorious, he is victory. He is the splendor of the splendid. Among the enterprising and industrious, he is the most enterprising, the most industrious. Among adventurers, he is the most adventurous. And among the strong, he is the strongest. When Krishna was present on earth, no one could surpass him in his strength. Even in his childhood, he lifted Govardhana hill. No one can surpass him in cheating, splendor. No one can surpass him in victory. No one can surpass him in enterprise, and no one can surpass him in strength. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So here, all the aspects, Krishna is a wholesome, he is the source of everything. So whatever you see as, I am also the gambling of cheats. So he's talking about the Dyuta Krida here. So that's probably the easiest way and the most potent way of cheating, right? As we saw in Mahabharata, how Pandavas were cheated through Dyuta Krida, right? And we saw the horrendous outcomes of that as Draupadi had to go through a very embarrassing time where she was asking for help. And of course, Lord came to save her when everybody, including Drona and Bhishma, were helpless in that assembly. Now, the other popular pastime of the Lord, where how his cheating has been talked about, is when Vamanadev meets Bali Maharaj. Right? And first, what happens is Bali Maharaj asks that, hey, this is Brahman who has come, and he's asking for Bhiksha. And he says, Brahmana, go ahead and ask. I have all the wealth of this universe. So go ahead and ask, what you think is good for you. And Bali Maharaj and Vamandev, looking at Bali Maharaj, says that I just need 3 steps of land. Now, these are, Lord, is manifesting himself as a small Brahmin boy, right? Very extremely short in height, and in colloquially, tongue-in-cheek, people say that if somebody's looking like a dwarf, he's looking like Vamana. They will say colloquially, tongue-in-cheek. So don't please use it as a. But that's how small he was, just to give you an understanding. And when you go ahead and meet a very big personality like Bali Maharaj, and you say, I need just this much. Now, Bali Maharaj was taken aback because he's a big emperor who can offer a lot more. And when you ask for very little, then he was feeling that he's being let down. Then you're kind of insulting me, right? You're by asking so little, so small of something, you're embarrassing my riches that I can offer. Right? And then, Lord gives him a discourse on how one should be self-satisfied even with the small things that he may get. That somebody who cannot get satisfied with 3 steps of land may not get satisfied even if he gets the 3 worlds, right, all for himself. So he completely gives this discourse, right, on how one should be satisfied with 3 steps of land. Now, hearing back the Lord with so much of articulation, with complete discourse on what satisfaction means and how is that defined, Bali Maharaj thinks, okay, I heard enough. Now let me offer, okay, I'm willing to offer you 3 steps of land. And then Lord actually, increases his bodily size, and then his foot, his body grows so much so that 1 step is good to cover 1 world, 2nd step to cover the other world, and he's saying, where's the 3rd step? I'm completely, you're not giving me enough worth the 3rd step. Now, what was he saying just a few minutes back? You're talking about the fact that if somebody is not satisfied with 3 steps, how can we be satisfied? See, that part is still true. His steps are so huge that the whole thing is insufficient for him. But at the same time, his steps have also become so big that nothing is sufficient for him, right? So that's how he cheated Bali Maharaj. Of course, all these are Lord's pastimes where he gets the best out of his devotee. So Bali Maharaj let his head be the 3rd one, and he surrendered himself to the Lord, and Lord was moved by what Bali Maharaj had to offer. And then, of course, other things happened. So that is one. And of course, we know in Mahabharata how Lord, without lifting any shastra, that he was just he was Parthasarathi, right? He was just a chariot driver. But then he manifested so much of all the big warriors such as Bhishma, Drona, they had to fall. finally, right? And in some cases, the means to the end weren't seen that, okay, was that the right thing to do? But yes, in achieving the larger purpose of establishing dharma, perfectly fine. So I'm just giving these evidences. And then Prabhupada says as he goes along in this commentary, if Krishna decides to deceive a person, no one can surpass him in his deceit. So, for example, there's also this example given where people they want to live the life by completely sense gratifying themselves. So I will not follow those 4 regulatory principles. I will lead the life I want to. And then what I will do is, before the time I'm getting old, I will cover my entire house with Krishna's paintings and Krishna's photos, so that, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that if you can remember me at the time of death, then you will reach me, right? And there is no, and it is guaranteed. So why not cheat Krishna that way? But what happens is, or some people may park themselves to Vrindavan, saying that, okay, I'll pass my time. I have done everything that I wanted to in life. Now I will kind of spend some time for Krishna and leave my body. But what may happen is, somebody may fall sick and he may have to get shifted out of Vrindavan to Delhi for medical attention, and he may just pass away there, right? So if we try to trick Krishna, Krishna is a Paramatma who's observing everything that is happening through us, inside us, and how can we ever cheat him? So he can cheat us, but we cannot cheat him, right? So that's another thing. Among adventurers, he's the most adventurous. So we've seen many episodes of adventure, and including one where Lord, with his infinite strength, picks up the Govardhan Parvat, which is about 22 kilometers even today, as we do the parikrama, in his little finger. And was he panting and panting as he was lifting that entire Govardhan Parvat for 7 days and 7 nights? No, he was joyfully playing flute with the other hand, right? And he was giving eye contact, he was smiling, he was joyful while lifting Govardhan Parvat, right? So that is enormous strength. Also the most adventurous, right? He's not, at a moment he would also show as if this may fall down, but no, it's not going to fall down, because Lord is completely in control of the Govardhan Parvat. And then he was adventurous to take on Indra, right? Saying that, hey, why don't you worship this Giriraj instead of worshipping Indra, right? And we know what happened as a result, and then this entire Govardhan Leela happened. So that is one. And when no one can surpass him in cheating, no one can surpass him in splendor. He's the last buck, the final definition of all these good attributes, right? And so we just have to remember that when we see these qualities, we develop appreciation of the Lord, right? And then we get closer and closer to Krishna. We are able to purify our consciousness and improve our chanting, and therefore our sadhana. So that is about 36. Yes.
One
yes.
question from Rohini Mataji. She's attending from YouTube, so she has asked me to ask this question. So she's asking, like, why is Lord equating him with a vice, that is cheating and all? Why should Lord do this?
Yeah, so Lord is the source of everything, right? Even if someone, so it doesn't mean that we become cheaters, right? Lord can do everything because he's the source of everything. He's complete. So even if, how do I say complete? Because both qualities in terms of what gets manifested, I have to show both sides, right? So therefore, he shows the aspect of cheating also. We talked about, how he cheated Bali Maharaj, and and he's taken an example of Tirtha Krida. But it doesn't mean that we become cheaters. It doesn't mean that we take to gambling. It doesn't mean that we break the 4 regulatory principles. It's an example to show that he's complete. He's summum and bonum of everything. So therefore, he shows examples of both sides.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move to the next section. Oh, sorry, I think this was the one. Okay, 10.37. Krishnina Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjayah Muninam api aham Vyasah Kavinam Ushana Kavi. Anybody wants to read?
मैंने प्रभु जी
Yes, please, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
कृष्णीनां वासुदेवोऽस्मि पाण्डवानां धनञ्जयः मुनीनामप्यहं व्यासः कवीनामुशना कविः. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa, and among the great thinkers, I am Ushana. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead, and Baladeva is Krishna's immediate expansion. Both Lord Krishna and Baladeva appeared as sons of Vasudeva. So both of them may be called Vasudeva. From another point of view, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavana, all the forms of Krishna that appear elsewhere are his expansions. Vasudeva is Krishna's immediate expansion. So Vasudeva is not different from Krishna. It is to be understood that the Vasudeva referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita is Baladeva or Balarama, because he is the original source of all incarnations, and thus he is the sole source of Vasudeva. The immediate expansions of the Lord are called Swamsha, personal expansion, and there are also expansions of Vibhinnamsha, separated expansions. Among the sons of Pandu, Arjuna is famous as Dhananjaya. He is the best of men and therefore represents Krishna. Among the Munis are learned men conversant in Vedic knowledge. Vaishya is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge.
Vyasa, not Vaishya.
Vyasa. Vyasa is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for the understanding of the common mass of people in the age of Kali. And Vyasa is also known as an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, Vyasa also represents Krishna. Kavis are those who are capable of thinking thoroughly on any subject matter. Among the Kavis, Ushana, Shukracharya was the spiritual masters of the demons. He was an extremely intelligent and far-seeing politician. Thus, Shukracharya is another representative of the opulence of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So here, Krishna's Lord is speaking, and Prabhupada, as he writes in purport. So all the incarnations, right, they are coming from Balaram. So from Krishna, the expansion is Balaram, and then from there, Vasudev, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Anirudh, and then from there, Narayana, and then again, so there's a hierarchy, right? Now, Krishna in this, the way the Vasudeva has to be seen as Balaram here, and that's where Prabhupada explains, both Lord Krishna and Baladeva appeared as sons of Vasudeva. So basically, so Balaram appeared through Rohini, right? And Krishna appeared through Devaki. And in Sanskrit, so if you from Vrishni, right? In the Vrishni clan, Vasudeva is the origin for both Krishna and Balaram, right? And here, the fact remains that Krishna cannot say that I am the, I am the potency for everything that exists. So he essentially says that from me, from me, Balaram comes, and from him, all these expansions come. So this Vasudeva has to be seen as Balaram. That is one thing. So that's where this entire expansion is talked about of personal and separated expansions. So that is one thing. Here, this word is very important. This sentence becomes very important. It is to be understood that Vasudeva referred in this verse of Bhagavad Gita as Baladeva or Balram because he is the original source of all incarnations and thus he is the sole source of Vasudeva. Right? So Krishna expands to Balaram and from him all these incarnations are there. Right? So this Vasudeva has to be seen as Balaram. Now, among the sons of Pandu, he is Arjuna. Now, this is going to be a bewildering statement because Arjuna is bewildered in the battlefield. He is hearing from Krishna and Krishna says, I am Arjuna. Right? So what does that mean? What it means is that it's all Lord's pastimes to use Arjuna, who himself he's very capable, he's all qualified. That temporary bewilderment that Arjuna is going through is Lord's arrangement to use Arjuna as a vehicle to teach Bhagavad Gita to all of us. It is for our benefit because Lord himself is saying that I am Arjuna. Right? That means he is the best among Pandavas and Arjuna, if Lord says that I'm Arjuna, then that bewilderment shouldn't come. But he's used Arjuna more as an instrument to pass on the message of Bhagavad Gita to us. That's how we need to understand this. Again, he talks about Vyasa Muni, Vyasadeva. Now, Vyasa, he basically compiled the Vedas. He separated those Vedas into Rig, Yajuj, Sama, Atharva. And also, he wrote in his maturity the famous Srimad Bhagavatam, a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So, we are permanently indebted to Vyasadeva. Right? If not for him, I think this class couldn't have been happening. Right? So Krishna is that Vyasa who's able to disseminate knowledge to the benefit of all of us in Kali Yuga, and in a way that it is digestible, in a way that all types of literatures have been given. Mahabharata has been given, Ramayana has been given. If someone doesn't want to study the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, and he's more interested in understanding or realizing God realization through stories, Ramayana and Mahabharata is there, right? So there is food for everyone in this world in terms of excellent literature, which Lord is giving through Vyasadeva. And then Lord says that among Kavis, he's Shukracharya. So Shukracharya is the head of all the demons. He's the spiritual master of all demons. So Shukracharya is also known for his, he's a far-seeing politician and extremely intelligent. So there was a time when in the war between demons and demigods, when Indra injured or he basically gave a heavy, he gave a heavy assault to Bali Maharaj. Shukracharya reinstated Bali Maharaj through his powers. That is one. And also during the time when Vaman Dev comes to meet Bali Maharaj and asking for alms, actually Shukracharya very clearly forewarns Bali Maharaj, saying that, hey, that's Vishnu, and beware, don't promise anything, that and that will land you in trouble. So he did what he thought was right for his generation. That was because he was a far-seeing politician. He could see what is coming, what's going to happen in the next few instances, and he was proven to be right as well. So it was indeed Vishnu, it was indeed, and then Bali Maharaj was taken captive. So that Shukracharya is also Krishna in its opulence. Right? So that is in 37. We'll move to 38. Then Dandotamayatam asmi, Nitir asmi chikitsatam, Maunam chaivasmi, Huyanam Jnanam Jnanavatam aham. Anybody wants to read? Very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I can read.
Yes, please go ahead.
Dandodamayatam Nitirasmi Jigishitam Maunam Chaivasmi Guhyanam Jnanam Jnanavatamaham. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am the wisdom. There are purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There are many suppressing agents, of which the most important are those that cut down miscreants. When miscreants are punished, the agency of chastisement represents Krishna. Among those who are trying to be victorious in some field of activity, the most victorious element is morality. Among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating, silence is most important, because by silence one can make progress very quickly. The wise man is he who can discriminate between matter and spirit, between God's superior and inferior natures. Such knowledge is Krishna himself.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here, if we go down and we read Prabhupada's purport, he says that there are many suppressing agents, of which the most important are those that cut down miscreants. Right? The agency of chastisement represents Krishna. Now, the other thing which where there is a take-home message for all of us is that we see many people in the society, and many of them use shortcuts. They will use chal, chapat, kapat, and they will use a hack to become victorious, and they may compromise morality. Right? Is that how we should also be leading our lives? No. So we have to, as students of Bhagavad Gita, as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, we need to be always leaning towards the path of righteousness. Right? That means that if the victory has to be earned by the right means, then we should endeavor in that direction. Right? So here I'm reminded of Vritrasur's meeting Indra in the battlefield. And when all the demons were running away, showing their backs because they couldn't face the demigods, the devatas there, Vritrasur was saying, hey, don't show your backs. Be a soldier and take them head on. So he was critical of the demons for fleeing. Now, at the same time, as these demons were chased down by the demigods, by devatas, and they were shooting them with arrows as they were fleeing, he was critical of devatas also. You should not be shooting people when they are fleeing, or when you have to take an enemy head on. You can't be shooting arrows from behind. So, of course, when this entire pastime happened, and of course, materially, Indra was successful, but who was really successful? That was Vritrasur. He had the spiritual, he went to the spiritual destination, right? So that's something, so always victory has to have its foundation on the platform of morality. The other one, which is important for us to introspect, is that there are people with whom we converse, we speak, and they sometimes pass us a lot of secret information, something very confidential. Now, Lord says, what's the best kept secret? When one is silent, right? So of secret things, I'm silent. So if you're silent, technically, you can never say something which is secretive outside. You can't reveal it. But also, there is a caveat here that for practicing Krishna conscious devotees, silence doesn't mean that you cannot utter Lord's names. All our discussions, all our subject matter of conversation should be Krishna, right? So speak everything which includes Lord. That is absolutely encouraged, and that's the right thing to do. But anything else, stay away. That's not going to help in your bhakti. That may agitate your mind, and that may also not keep you in the proper consciousness. So those are the bits. And then the wise man, here Prabhupada says, he is that person who can discriminate matter and spirit between God's superior and inferior natures. Now, why is that important? He's not talking about wise man as someone who has a PhD degree or someone who is well-versed materially, a Sanskrit scholar. No, he's talking about that person who can distinguish matter and spirit at all times, right? And that is very important, because every decision that we ever take in our life, if this distinction is made clear, we will always find ourselves taking the right decision. So that's why this becomes wisdom, right? And our ability to take right decisions all the time. So that is wisdom. So with that, I know I've already overshot by 14 minutes. So I will conclude our class here. And yes, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Samasta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Any question? Maybe we can take one. Hare Krishna. If there are no...
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhu, for the lovely explanations. They're really very nice.
Thank you
so much. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Here I
Hare
have one
Krishna.
doubt. Here
Yes.
they mentioned it's a matter and spirit. Matter means it's like our this one. It's our present world.
Yeah. So the way we can, to make it easier for our application, the way to look at this sentence is that, is this activity help me grow in Krishna consciousness, or is it going to push me back? Right?
Yes.
That itself will help you discriminate between matter and spirit, because when you're going to do some activity which will take you away from Krishna, obviously it is going to go more towards matter, right? More towards probably more opulences. Let me take a bigger loan. Let me just work very hard to, to make more and more money to enjoy myself. So that activity, that thought itself takes you away from Krishna. So therefore, it may impede in your bhakti, right? However, I have some half an hour free time. Can I read Bhagavatam? Can I chant holy names? Can I do a Vaishnava association? Can I use it in a way which brings me closer to Krishna? Automatically, it's moving in the direction of spirit. Is that help, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. And one more here, this one also. One more, and between God's superior and inferior natures. And those are the superior nature in sense it's a Bhagavan's
that one is God's external and internal potency, right? So external potency is Prakriti, the what we see around us, right? Internal potency is where, Jivatmas and they come there, right? So internal potency of the Lord. So matter means external potency, spirit means internal potency.
Fine, good. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. We'll all meet tomorrow. Thank you for participating.